I definitely need healing. I admit I need healing, but I understand that healing is not an overnight process. This is a lifetime journey to heal. It's not something that just happens right away. What do I need healing from? I think that most people can say that the relationship that you have with America is something that you're gonna, as long as you're in America, you're gonna be needing to be healed from all the trauma that America induces on your psyche, the psychological war that we're constantly combating, the physical war, the mental war, the war, the spiritual war that we're always combating, the war for your soul, the war for your mind, the war to govern you, the war to control you. This is what we are constantly up against, constantly battling. So who we were designed to be organically versus who we've become to adapt to a very unorganic environment is something that we need healing from. In order to often thrive in this concrete jungle, you have to muster up parts of you that exist but are not necessarily the most conducive for your overall well-being. For an example, I can talk about the music industry. You know, some of the people in the music industry, at this point, when you speak to them, like they don't have there's no compassion left. It's like a very, you know, you could use, I guess, more judgmental words like jaded or tarnished or all of these things, but it's basically going through so much kind of makes you numb. And it makes you numb to feeling, and that means what you actually feel and what you actually are giving out to the world. It makes you numb. So what a lot of these artists have had to do, a lot of these entertainers have had to do to get to where they're at, they're numb. So if you were to approach one of them, you know, and I'm making a generalization and saying, you know, what you're doing is just really wrong. They're like, we don't have that anymore. That right, wrong thing is gone. It's out the window. We don't have any moral compass at this point, at this stage of the game. We don't feel. So it's not like with the sale of your soul, means that you don't feel, which for some people is a plus, and for some people it's a minus, and for some people it's both. So how we will, like when we love, right? How we feel when we love, and how your heart feels, and how your emotions feel when you're in love, and how, you know, it's like all of these endorphins that take over your body, and it's like your heart is open and all of these things. That's the beauty of love, when you get that nutrient of love. When you don't have a soul, you don't feel like, so that allows you to do things like take lives, you know, kill people and things like that without really feeling anything, but it also prevents you from feeling things like love. I'm saying this to say that, you know, Krishnamurti said that it's no measure of health, it's no measure of wellness to be well adjusted to a very sick society. So there is nothing wrong with saying that I'm not quite well adjusted to this very sick very bizarre society. We live in an insane asylum. Literally, we live in an insane asylum. Our planet, specifically America, is a big insane asylum with a whole bunch of actors parading around as if they're not insane. And then the sane ones, the aware ones, the people who are cognizant of their environment, the knowledgeable ones, the people who are the ones who are labeled crazy. So everything is up is down, and down is up, and everything is backwards, and all of this stuff in this society. So I'm not dismissive of people who aren't super well adjusted or comfortable in this very cold, compassionless, corrupt, greedy culture. I understand, and I am deliberately reclusive to not engage with that type of energy. I was talking to a guy who was in the psych field, and he had some goals of, kind of guys climbing the ladder or obtaining enough degrees for him to be able to, get to where his professional goal within the psych field. And I thought it was fascinating when I talked to him. I thought it was really interesting about his experiences, because he had interned every single summer in a psychiatric ward. I'm like, wow, that's really, he was interning in New Orleans at the time. I said, that's really interesting. That's really fascinating. And he said, yeah, it's really interesting. It's really, really fascinating. He said, but the main thing that I have an issue with, and I think the conversation, I'm vaguely remembering the details of this conversation. He said something to the effect of, he may not continue to do these internships. And the internships, I believe, were like not just a prerequisite of the degrees that he was seeking to obtain, but also experience, the credentials for what he was looking to do. Because he said that he felt a level of trauma, or he felt a level of, psychological invasion, or he felt not like himself after spending so many hours and so many days in a psych ward, because he said, I began to think that I was the crazy one. So that's interesting. Like, he was in there, he started thinking like, maybe they're the sane ones, maybe I'm the crazy ones. Maybe, he said, you don't know the difference when you're in there with them. You start not knowing the difference. I'm like, whoa, this is really interesting. But it speaks volumes to the dichotomy of both the resilience and the astounding durability of the human mind and the psyche, what we can be put through and still survive, still thrive, still cope. But it also speaks volumes to the fragility of the human mind as well. Because I believe that whether it is something that is outward or if it's something that is inward, it still is going to take its toll to some degree. On a conscious or on a subliminal or deeper psychological level, everything, our minds are very powerful. Everything we're storing, everything we see, everything we do, everything we hear, we're storing. And so we don't know how these things play out necessarily. They've done studies where they've done studies on children with the doll babies, and they say, well, what doll baby looks like the one who is the good one, and and they point to the white doll baby. You know, what doll baby looks like it's the bad one, the one who hurts people. They point to the black. So these programs, these psychological programs, because when we talk about the psychosis of racism, these are things that are very deeply ingrained and deeply implanted. Because I had to, when going through this whole experience, it was not so much the people that were deliberately trying to wage a psychological war on me and induce very traumatic and psychologically damaging experiences that were going to affect me in an adverse way immediately as well as in the long run. But it wasn't so much them, because I minored in Black Studies at Denison, at my university. I minored in Black Studies, so I had enough knowledge on the history of America, and I had knowledge of the Tuskegee experiments. I had knowledge of redlining. I had knowledge of the Trans-American slavery. I had knowledge of Sarah Bartman. I had knowledge of all of these experiences that basically formulated my mind to understand, okay, this is what we're dealing with racially. I took such a fascination with Black Studies that I decided to incorporate it into my minor. And my minor required that I did a bunch more work, right? Because I was like, I really want to do this. Maybe I'll just do a concentration. No, I took it on as my minor. And so I had all of these books and all of these articles and all of these knowledge and all of these things that I had studied in school to give me a really accurate understanding and breakdown of what we were actually dealing with in this country. And so when I was confronted, right, and it's no coincidence that I was confronted with this attack on my life, because it's one thing, and I was thinking about a friend of mine who's a professor down south, brilliant mind. She majored when we went to university in PPE. It was philosophy, political science, and economic. It was a triple major, and she's a professor now. And she's teaching a course on, I think that she came up with the whole course, which was really impressive, on the black market, on the economy of, you know, non-legit ways of making money, prostituting, pimping, drugs, you know, selling drugs, all of the scamming and all of the things that people do, you know, that she's teaching that, and she's a professor. So she has a great mind, but one thing that I'll say is her mind, she has a benefit because her mind was coupled with the fact that she grew up in the South Side of Chicago. It's not enough. I don't believe academia is enough. I don't believe academia is enough. I believe that academia has to be coupled with real life experiences to contextualize and give your. I think that the school of hard knocks is actually a school. It is actually a school. Life experience is actually a school. And I think that a lot of times what people fail to understand is that your accumulation of degrees may not even amount to somebody who's actually really lived a life in the categories of what you studied, right? So this experience was very much necessary for me as far as my calling and the work that I've been put here to do on this earth. I had to go through this. God makes no mistakes. How are you going to be a freedom fighter? People, I forgot it was Martin Luther King Day today. Every day for me is Martin Luther King Day. How are you going to be a freedom fighter? How are you going to fight for black liberation? How are you going to fight for your people if you've never confronted, if you've never been in the belly of the beast and confronted the most ferocious, wicked, monstrous, heartless, cruel, bloodthirsty, blood-sucking devils that you couldn't even fathom in your worst nightmare by yourself? How are you going to develop a level of understanding and compassion. And here's the issue that I have with a lot of political leaders. Most presidents, Obama was an exception, most presidents have never been in the trenches. The Nancy Pelosi's of the world and the Clintons, the ones with these big, they've never been in the trenches. They've had a life that has been able to preserve them from these very real life experiences, but they're making policies for people who are in the trenches, who are being affected by this social abnormalities in this construct of America. When I began to kind of analyze and deeply interpret the minds of some of these very wicked people who have no conscience, I said, well, you have no conscience because you have no empathy, you have no compassion because you've never been in a specific person's situation, you've never had to walk in their shoes, so you've been void of, you have no conscience. You have no conscience of the ramifications of your actions. You have no conscience of how your actions trickle down. You have no conscience on how your actions and you trying to tamper and interfere with someone's life, how that affects their children or their child, how that affects their psychological well-being, how that affects every category of their life. You are void of a conscience of that. And people think, yeah, that's cool. That's how we win, right? We can't have a conscience. We can't be so emotionally attached to the work that we do. We know that, yeah, we know it's wrong, but we don't feel really like we're void of any kind of attachment to any moral decency. We don't think along those lines. And I say, okay, you don't think along those lines. So appealing to somebody or trying to speak to somebody, appealing to any sense of empathy or compassion when they have none would be a waste of time. That'd be a waste of breath. Appealing to someone's heart or trying to tug on anyone's emotional heartstrings when they're heartless would be a waste of time, right? But here's the thing about it. Let's not talk along the lines of a moral compass. Let's talk along the lines of just plain and simply, how do you feel? When you have been able to have life experiences, you've traveled, you've met all different types of people, you've seen what real joy looks like. You've seen, you may not have experienced real love or real joy or real fulfillment, but you've seen it. You've seen what real joy looks like. How do you feel knowing that the life that you've signed up for, that joy will never be something that you get, love will never be something that you get? You think that, okay, yeah, I'm heartless, I'm cool, I don't have any emotions, I'm whatever, a killer, I could do anything for money or whatever, void of a conscience. But what I'm explaining to you is that you have basically taken a back seat to life and all that life has to offer and all that life has to bring, because what is life with no love, and what is life with no joy? So either way, I'm not in the fashion of trying to bend over backwards to change people, because who you are is who you are. That's not what I'm here to do. How you get down is how you get down, but I've been consistent in saying you're not going to lure me into your game, because life is about choices, right? Life is about choices. So having been engulfed in a number or experienced a number of different environments, I can say, oh, this is what I like the most. I've been in rooms that are really uptight, and I've had to dress, in a certain way, and the conversation is very surface, and it's about make sure you use the right fork, and it's very uptight, it's very suffocating, it's very restrictive. It may be fancy, it may be nice, it may be all those things, but the walk on eggshells environment and atmosphere, it's very confining to my soul. Whereas I've been in atmospheres where the kids are running around, everyone's laughing, everyone's eating good, it's a good vibe, it's real conversation, no pretentious BS, just real people, real conversations, that feels good to my soul. So life is about choices. You can't force somebody into seeing things your way. You can't force somebody into the life that you've chosen for yourself. Life is really about choices. And I choose a very soulful life because I'm a very soulful woman. It is no measure of health to be adjusted to a very sick society. And then Dr. Sebi said that you're not gonna find everybody who's talking about a cure because there's no profit in the cure. Excuse me, it's hot as hell in here. There's no profit in the cure. You know what I'm saying? I guess we needed Dr. Sebi to state the obvious. Because everybody, when you hear it, that's why there's no profit in the cure. We live in a society, that is, and they can blanket it as, oh, here comes the conspiracy theory hogwash. You sound crazy about all these things, all these COINTELPRO and all this. You sound nuts. You might as well just put some tinfoil on your head. And I say, I've thought about it. And frankly, those are the type of people you're going to see me hanging out with, the tinfoil hat people. But let them, you know what I'm saying? I feel like being called crazy is an initiation. But let's just break it down, right? So, you understand that in a heartless society, you're not necessarily going to appeal to people's emotional their emotions, because a lot of people are emotionless. But let's just break it down logically. We have a society that has lots and lots of professional teams. We'll talk about the NFL, we'll talk about the NBA. But we can count Black owners on one hand. Most of them are co-owners on one hand. Well, why is it all Black players, all white owners? The United States, the head of state. We could talk about the Obamas all day, but it's been all white heads of state, all male heads of state from the beginning of America. Why? Look at your condo building. Do some research on your zip code and ownership. Who owns the groceries? Who owns Whole Foods? Who owns Trader Joe's? Who owns Giant Supermarket? Who owns Safeway? Every place that you go, who owns it? Who owns the Gap? Who owns J. Crew, Banana Republic, Abercrombie, Gucci? Who owns it? Who owns Ford? The car that you drive, who owns it? The dealership that you bought it from, who owns it? The building that you go have your meetings at, who owns that building? The commercial real estate, who owns it? Oh, here they go talking about with using the race card. I'm just asking, who owns everything? The condo that you live in, who owns it? The banks that you go to apply for the loans that you don't get from them, who owns those banks? Who owns Bank of America? Who owns Chase? Who owns all these things? Does it still look like we're just making it up? Because people are like, how confining, like how you're talking about we're still slaves. You're still a slave, I'm not. Are you sure? You sure you're not? So you can call us crazy, you can call us conspiracy theorists, but I'm just saying, are you asking the right questions? Why don't we own things? Why don't we own banks? Why don't we own, big buildings and skyscrapers and like monuments? And why almost 50 presidents and there's only been one black guy? And by the time that they were done with him, might as well have been a white guy. So you can call us, what you choose to. You can call us what you want, but we are not living in a just society by any stretch of the imagination. And there is no profit in the cure. There's no profit in the cure. So when we talk about the haves and the have-nots, in order for, if I'm an owner, the only way that my business is going to thrive is by having patrons. I gotta have people to buy it. So I need you to have just enough money not to be my competitor, because that's not what I want. I don't want you to be able to get enough income to actually be my competitor. Because if I own a grocery store and you have enough to buy a grocery store down the block, now all the patrons in my zip code are going to have options. They could go to my store or they could go to your store. So you leveling up now just made it a way more competitive market for me and just chipped away at my earning potential. So it's not that I want you to not have anything. I just want you to just have enough to be able to come and buy my stuff, circulate your dollars in my business. So I can continue to build a legacy and have property and have investment property, have real estate, so my children don't have to be slaves like yours. Like, I don't have really like a problem with like you just getting by, but when we talk about land ownership and we talk about you now becoming a threat in the market, you now being a competitor, we're not going to let that happen. Sure, you guys can be athletes. Yeah, we'll even pay you to be entertainers and athletes, millions of dollars. But as far as owning record labels, as far as owning teams, that's where we're not really gonna allow you to thrive in that category. Because why would we share the market with you? Why would we give you access to wealth where you can become our competitor? So this experience was very, very necessary because I had a firsthand experience of how hard they go to block our access to wealth. It's it's like their obsession. And some people will be like, that's crazy, but really for them it's not. Because they're like, we can, if we can block it now, then we see in the future that this person will never be able to be our competitor in the market. And that's the whole name of the game, to dominate, to have absolute and utter control over the market. So Dr. Sebi, how does this relate to Dr. Sebi? How does this relate? Because everybody, you're a conspiracy theorist, and there's a bunch of conspiracy theorists, hogwash. And well, the questions that I just asked, you have eyes. You can do research about ownership. There's nothing diabolical about that, right? There's nothing conspiracy theorist about the fact that pretty much everything that we consume or patronize is not ours. We can agree on that, right? That's logical enough. That's not too outlandish or off conspiracy theory-ish. So we've witnessed our economy predicated upon doing very unjust things, right? Because we can agree that these people lack morality. As far as it's a free country, and you are free to show up at church on Sunday, and you are free to show up at Juma on Friday, and you are free to worship whoever you want, including a white Jesus, if that's who you choose to worship. But understand that they are free to also worship the almighty dollar. They are free to say money is our God. That's who we pray to. They're free to do that. You're applying your free will to choose to worship Jesus or worship whoever with the same train of thought of these people who dominate you. They don't think like you. They're not going to church on Sunday asking for a money miracle. They're not doing that. They're not doing that. They say, well, what we'll do is we will actually just, instead of praying for a money miracle, we will just kill for a money miracle. We will just steal, we'll murder for a money miracle. That's how we will make our money miracle manifest. We'll just kill, we'll just steal, we'll just enslave people for our money miracle. That's how we manifest. We don't close our eyes and kumbaya, wish, pray to God. No, we don't do that. We just kill. We just, in real time, that's how we do it. We murder, we kill, we steal, we enslave. Kenza, whoa, enslave? Yeah, enslave. 450 years of free labor, what was that? What does that mean? On American soil, what does that mean? That is a reflection of the worship of the almighty dollar. We don't care about people. Just make them your slaves and call them 3/5 of a human being. They don't have any rights. As long as we get our money, as long as we get our land. You think that mentality just went away? Because of your athletes? Because of a president in the White House? Because of Oprah Winfrey or Serena Williams? You think that mentality is just gone? They've found very clandestine, covert ways to keep you slaves. This is a mind game. So yes, we are very much still slaves. This is very much still slavery. And slavery, the food was, in order to keep the slaves alive, you had to feed them. They had to sleep somewhere. So your minimum wage job, that is not going to give you it's not going to buy you property to hand down to your child. It's not going to buy you a home to hand down to your child. It's designed to keep you coming back and barely getting by and being a paycheck away from homelessness. And that's majority of Americans. a paycheck or two away from homelessness. So no, slavery never went away. If you're paying for the slave quarters now, it was free. It was in exchange for your labor for 450 years. It was free in exchange for your labor. The food that they gave you and the housing that they gave you was free in exchange for your free labor. But if your minimum wage job does not allow you access to property ownership, what is the difference between slavery then and slavery now? Outside of hope, which is what Barack Obama ran on. That was his candidacy. That was his mantra, hope. Which I think is awesome. But it's also a facade if you are simultaneously a part of an infrastructure that is designed to keep people enslaved. Like, it's like one of those things, like, are you gonna raise your child to tell them that the Tooth Fairy exists and that Santa Claus exists and that, oh, it's cute, it's innocence. Let them stay hopeful. We don't want to take away their innocence or their naivety. But you're lying to them. You're lying to your children. Because the Tooth Fairy doesn't exist and Santa Claus doesn't exist. So Dr. Sebi said, look, there's no profit in the cure. As long as they can make money off of your illness, they're not going to cure you. They could have a cure. They could have a cure for everything right now in a lab. You got scientists. Oh my gosh, I just developed a cure for cancer. Oh my gosh, I just developed a cure for AIDS. I just developed a cure for heart disease. I just developed a cure for this, for that. Oh, really? Oh, cool. Let's go ahead and patent that and keep it a secret. Because I promise you'll be dead by dinner time. Because people kill for money than they always have. There's too much money in cancer. Too many people who have been affected by cancer who are donating. I mean, the endowment to cancer is like people every year, they're donating, oh, let's put money in breast cancer. Yeah, we're going to be doing this walk to end diabetes. People are fundraising. Where's all that money going to? Chemotherapy is expensive. All the money that goes into this. There's a lot of people that have a lot of money to make from you being unwell. There's a lot of money in you being sick. Your cure means the hospitals go away, the nurses go away, the doctors go away, the psychotherapists go away, the school counselors go away. Why cure people? What would be our incentive? Because it's the right thing to do? Do you think that we look like the right thing to do type people? Have you not studied our legacy and who we are and how we get down for centuries and generations? You think we got hearts? You think we got all this stuff around us because of our good hearts? You think we got our power based off of our good hearts? You must be dumb. You must be as dumb as we call you behind your back. You must be as stupid and naive and as ready to get preyed on as we actually factually call you behind your back. Are you stupid? Because it's the right thing to do? Nah, sweetheart. Oh, that's cute. That's cute. Thinking that we have souls. Thinking that we think along the line. We don't even believe in God. We believe in the almighty dollar, baby. That's what we believe in. That's who we pray to. Because it's the right thing to do. There's no profit in the cure, guys. There's no profit in the cure. Social issues. There's no profit in the solution of your social issues. The government's not here to solve your problems. The government's here to keep you in a constant and perpetual state of your problems. There's a lot of people that have a lot of money to be made about your social unwellness, your social disturbance, and as they concoct these race wars, who will be the next victim that will murder in cold blood, make a spectacle out of it. So they'll start marching and we can start another race war to distract them from what we're actually doing. Who will be the next victim? Over and over again, we see the moms on the news. Oh, they just killed my baby. No justice. In America, no justice is always my people. Yeah, another one. Yep, another one. Everybody's all emotionally entangled, trauma bonding. Shout out to Brother Blue Pill and Red Pill. They introduced me to that term, trauma bonding. That's pretty much what it's become. RIP t-shirts, trauma bonding. Yeah, yo, you heard about Ray Ray? Trauma bonding, trauma bonding, trauma bonding. You don't think there's money to be made? Why do you think they do it? There's money to be made in that. People profit off of your trauma. People profit off of your pain. People profit off of your... Why, guys? Why? Why does the United States, one country out of over 190 countries, house 1/4, 25%, 1/4 of the entire world's inmates? Why was Joe Biden elected? Why was Kamala Harris selected? Kamala referred to herself as top cop. Joe Biden played a huge role in the 1994 crime bill. Why were these people selected? They were selected because they have shown a display of their commitment to the prison industrial complex. Well, why, Kenza? Why? Why is America so obsessed with throwing people in jail? What is it? Why do we have... Guys, I will break down this fact every single day if I can. Like, over 190 countries, one country stores. Over 190 countries, one country stores, harbors, keeps 1/4 of the entire globe's inmates? Of the entire, out of over 190 countries, one country, the United States, has over 1/4 of all of the inmates in all of over 190 countries. You ever thought about why? Have you ever thought about why? Have you ever thought about why Joe Biden has people on payroll to surveil non-criminals, put them on 24-hour surveillance? Do you ever think about why the police are just always in your hood? Have you ever thought about why? Talking about it's our job to invade the lives and the privacy of non-criminals, doing no criminal activity whatsoever, pose no domestic threat whatsoever. Have you ever thought about why? You got people on salary watching people 24/7 on 24-hour surveillance. No domestic threat, non-terrorist. Have you ever thought about why? I admit I'm not well adjusted to this bullshit. Because this is some bullshit. I am not well adjusted to this bullshit because this is some bullshit. And 13%, I don't even know if that's really the real number, because it's been 13% for ages. But that's what they're saying is the total population, the total Black population of America. But make up 40% of the inmates? You think I got love? You think that I'm some coon who's got love, who's going to be putting a man in the White House who signed a bill to perpetuate my people's enslavement and has people on payroll surveilling non-criminals? You think I'm going to support that? Do you know what they do to people behind bars? Do you know how voiceless these people are? Do you know that they're using Black men as non-consensual lab rats? That every single drug, before your drug addict self gets hooked on it, is tested on these non-consensual lab rats behind bars, turning Black men out, riddling Black men with diseases, AIDS, turning them out, making them go with each other. Waging psychological war on these men. The cruelty, the psychosis of these demons, it's so wicked what they do to our people. And you think that I'm going to in any way, shape, or form endorse anybody who supports this, let alone somebody who orchestrated this? It's a couple options. It's really about time to get out of America, really. It's about time. They're not letting this go. They're not going to stop this. This is what they do. So, happy Martin Luther King Day, people. If King was alive, I don't know. I don't know what King will be saying if King was alive, to see all of his efforts and where we are right now and what we've done as a people and how we've sold out. I don't know what King would be saying. I don't know if King might have up and moved to Ghana by now. With like Stevie Wonder. Like, nah, F this. I'm out. It is no measure of health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. People who are too well adjusted to this whole thing, I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm looking at them like, I don't know, what's up with you? You don't feel? Are you high? Are you drunk? You don't feel? You don't see? You don't see what's going on? So, what can you do? Well, number one is you have to eliminate everything that's holding you back. What do I mean by this? Shout out to Red Pill, Blue Pill, Mama Pill, I don't know Mama Pill Red and Blue like that. I've, met them a few times, but Mama Pill is a wonderful love. She has a great spirit to her, great energy to her. She's very, very kind soul. You feel her energy. It's real good energy. Real, real, real good energy. And she's a healer. And people think, oh, this sounds, how are you going to be able to wean yourself out of these things? I was talking, I'm an artist. I say this all the time. You guys know music is everything to me. Music is everything to me. And I was telling somebody, a fellow musician, I said, this was actually before, I think right before I stopped drinking wine. It's like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna be drinking, no weed, no pills, no none of that, nothing. And he looked at me like I was a superhero, like, what? In this fucked up world? You're gonna try to tackle it sober? Like, we need, like, knowing everything, like this attack on like our lives, or knowing like how we are constantly being preyed on, and know like this insane asylum that's America. There's a reason why we're always getting high. We are incapable emotionally and psychologically from actually dealing with the psychosis of America because we are people that feel, because we are people with hearts, because we are people that love, because we're people that have love for each other. We gotta zone out some kind of way. I'm like, nah, none of that. I'm not smoking with you. I don't smoke any weed. I'm not drinking with you. None of that. I'm tackling this whole thing with a very sober mind. For some people, that's impossible to do. But I knew that it was going to be absolutely necessary for me to be able to actually tackle this whole thing. These drugs are meant to sedate you, to not have the strength necessary to put up a fight. People aren't fighting because they're drugged out, they're drunk, they're high. That's why people aren't fighting. I was watching Mama Pill's lecture, and she was talking with Mama Pill, Blue Pill, and Red Pill recently did a lecture. I was watching the lecture on YouTube with Brother Rich. It's Black Magic 363. Definitely subscribe to that channel because it's so much information. I credit a lot of the information that I've gotten to that channel. It's awesome. The presentations with Dr. Phil Valentine. I had a chance to actually meet Dr. Phil Valentine some time ago. Red Pill was there, Blue Pill was there, a bunch of people were there. And he did a presentation on adrenochrome. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it was a lengthy lecture, and I've never been so engaged. Like, it was not a, brief, like 20-minute lecture. It was a lengthy lecture, but I was very, very engaged. It was very interesting. He broke down the power structure and basically a lot of the things that these people are doing behind the scenes in order to stay in power. And when I tell you this stuff was mind-blowing, shout out to Dr. Phil Valentine, but he has, definitely made an appearance on Black Magic 363. He's been a vampire slayer. He's really committed to it for a very long time, and he is unapologetic and fearless, extremely courageous in his approach to combating these very wicked, predatory forces that we're up against. Mama Pill was saying, they were talking about mock meats and the vegan lifestyle, and I'll likely end up doing another post about this, but in order to combat these things, they're really relying on you to take sedatives, to take Percocets, to be drunk, to be high. They're relying on that so you don't put up a fight, so you don't resist. And so I would say that that's number one. Before even fine-tuning your diet, getting off these drugs would be number one. No Percocets, no weed, no pills, no drinking, none of that. Get that out of your system entirely. And there are healers that have various detoxes that you can do to begin to wean yourself off of these addictions, to be able to get a clear mind. Now, once you get a clear mind, I'm going to warn you that you're going to be like me to some degree. You will be okay. You will be okay. But it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks. You're going to be really outraged at the things that you have been sedating yourself and numbing yourself to. It's going to shake you up quite a bit. You're going to be in for a rude awakening. And if you are not on drugs, not drinking, you're going to be in more of a psychologically, you'll be more psychologically ready to handle some of the things that are actually going on. So you don't absolutely lose your mind, because this stuff is really wild. And so you've got to get off these drugs. I have also recommended a plant-based diet, because a lot of these things that they're doing is through the foods. So like when we say that, the inmates are being experimented on, they're being experimented on in every single way. They're lab rats. They're lab rats to MK Ultra, beta mind control programming, and MK Ultra is not the only one. There's several CIA, government mind programming strategies and tactics that are used to tap into people's psyche and control them mentally. And so, it's all types of experiments with, gender experiments, changing people's gender, all types of experiments, putting things in people's food to make them attract to the same sex, all types of things that are going on with the tampering of your food. So if you can eat organic, that's the best. And if you can try your best to eliminate these meats, because there's a lot of things that are going on. They experiment with the animals. You're ingesting a lot of the things that they're doing to wage war on you. So my suggestion would be, number one, get off these drugs. Number one, eliminate the animal consumption, because you need to be psychologically ready for war, for the spiritual war that we're in. And I would say that those would be the two main things that would be required for you to be in a better state mentally and psychologically to kind of deal with some of the things that we are up against. And I say, for the preservation of yourself, for the preservation of your soul, for the preservation of your mind, and for the preservation of your family, I would say that those are the definitely necessary things to do. I would say that our culture that's become really obsessed with celebrities, a lot of these celebrities are not your friends. When I watch certain people gravitate towards certain people, I have to put them in a certain place, mind-wise, because I'm like, how could you endorse that? How could you co-sign this individual? Do you not know how this individual gets down? Do you not know that this person actually has not just no love for you, but also is like a part of an agenda that's actually looking to destroy like you and your whole family and like wipe you guys out for their own selfish purposes? But you rock with them? I don't know. So I will be doing a more in-depth conversation about this food war and why this vegan lifestyle is being pushed, but also simultaneously the mock meats are being pushed, the Beyond meats, the Impossible meats. KFC just got, that was what the pills were about, the Mama Pill and Blue Pill and Red Pill, these mock meats, and KFC getting a new chicken. This is not healthy stuff. This is not healthy eating. This is not going to contribute to you thinking sharply and all of these things. I will continue to post recipe videos and things like that. There are alternatives. For example, instead of a Beyond Burger, go ahead and do a lentil burger. Go ahead and do a falafel burger. Go ahead and actually do a bean burger and make your own bean burger. Get the beans that are in the, not in the can, but in the plastic bag. Boil your own beans. Make your actual food, like actually make your food. Because these quick fixes are going to end up having you with long-term problems. And people may say, well, it's expensive to eat healthy, but there's nothing more expensive than being sick. There's nothing more expensive than having to pay for a prescription. There's nothing more expensive than these medical bills that you get. There's nothing more expensive than all of these things. I will also be doing a more elaborative part 2 as far as alternates to traditional psychotherapy. Like I said, when you begin to wake, you're going to realize how insane this culture is, how insane our society is, and that will take a toll on your mind. You will have you will wake up and it will take a psychological toll on you. You will likely be traumatized. There's nothing wrong with not being well adjusted. There's nothing wrong with being traumatized by a very traumatic situation. And there's a likelihood that you might be enduring this alone. Your mama may not be tapped in. Even your husband may not be tapped in. Your friends may not be tapped in. And so enduring this alone is going to definitely take a psychological toll, especially if you can't find people to have these type of conversations with. And a lot of times these people that they're telling you to go to, they are not tapped in, or more than likely they are part of this system. Why? Because your illness, not just physical illness, but your mental illness is what keeps them gainfully employed. So there's no profit in them curing you mentally. So when they say, yeah, go to therapy, after they've traumatized you, they tell you to go to therapy to put your hard-earned money into their pockets. That's nonsensical. You need to get a healer. You need to reach out to Blue Pill, Red Pill, Mama Pill. You need to reach out to people who really, you need to be ordering products from Tahuti Ma'atara. You need to be tapped into Dr. Phil Valentine. You need to be able to really actually factually go to people who really have solutions to your well-being and are not there to keep you in a perpetual state of unwellness for their pockets. Why? Because unlike these other people, we actually adhere to a higher spiritual and moral law that says that we understand that the karmic effects of us leading you to the slaughterhouse aren't worth a dime that we could possibly gain by doing so. So as much as they try to make us seem like we're the crazy ones, as much as they try to make us seem like we're dumb for not tapping in to them abusing people, using people, waging psychological war on people, all in the name of profit, they're actually the idiots. Because if they could see the karmic debt that they're accruing on their life, and if they understood spiritually how that karmic debt will bleed into their legacy for generations to come, you're calling on the ancestors for what? Unless your ancestors were some coons, unless your ancestors were the ones who were calling the slave master on Harriet, you're calling on the ancestors who are going to help perpetuate generational enslavement. Who are you calling on? There's no purpose on calling on the ancestors if your work is unclean. You are wasting your time if you're calling on the ancestors and you have no integrity. Do you understand that you're the idiot because the karmic debt that you're incurring by spirit cooking, by killing, will bleed into your children's lives? Do you understand that? You are setting your children up for a life of defeat. Your children. That's how heavy this shit is. So continue to do what you do, but just know that you're only hurting yourself. Now, the true healers understand that our sense of self-esteem is actually what is going to keep us in accordance with moral law and spiritual law, because we want right to come to our lives, and we want right to come into our children's lives, and we want right to come into our grandchildren's lives, and we want right to come. We operate in righteousness for self-preservation. You operate with a lack of righteousness and a lack of decency because of your short-sightedness, your ignorance, your whitewashing, your belief that their ice is colder. Your indoctrination, your weak-mindedness, your inability to think for yourself, your socialist mentality that allows you to tap into groupthink. Well, what are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we? The trend, this, the collective, the sheep. The sheep are leading you straight to the slaughterhouse. Straight to the slaughterhouse. So continue to try to mock us, continue to try to laugh at us, continue to try to make fools of us when you're really the fool. The joke is actually factually on you. The only way out of this is everybody getting on code. First with the rude awakening that we are actually factually still slaves, and everybody getting on code for our self-preservation, for our generational preservation. Coming together, not fighting, actually pointing out the people who are sent to sabotage us, to make hits on us, to wage psychological war on us, actually calling them out because they are masters of deceit, they are liars. It's not hate. If somebody comes to your house to rob you, you call them out. Is that hating on them? If somebody comes to your house to kill you and your family and you call them out, is that jealousy? Is that hating on them? It's time for you to reframe your perspective. And it's time for everybody to get on code right now, in real time, in the spirit and legacy of Malcolm X, in the spirit and legacy of Martin Luther King, for everybody to unify and get on code. Call out the people who are actually your open enemies. Put down the drugs. Put down the alcohol. Wake up and realize it's no time to be going to bars, getting drunk, when a war is being waged on you and your family. This is not time to sedate yourself. Wake up. If that reality is too traumatizing, we've got resources for you to go get healed. We've got people who are in accordance with spiritual law, that they will never lead you astray based off of their commitment to spiritual law. It's time to get healed. And it's time to get on code. Anyways, y'all, much love. Peace.